everyone, welcome! Welcome to Full Sail University's ZBrush Halloween stream. Hello! Welcome again if you've watched this before. If you are new here, I welcome you many times. Again, I am Valerie Berrios Reyes. I will be your host for this ZBrush stream. I am currently a course director at Full Sail. My main focus is character art, to be honest. That's what called me when I went through the process of studying 3D art. I actually came here for environment arts and I loved it, and I also fell in love with characters, and that was what I chose as my main focus. Here are some of the assets and creations that I've done. I've been here, and I would say 8+ years because it's almost 10 years. So I am super happy to be here and be part of the Full Sail faculty and overall family and culture. I feel like I found my niche. I've been in the fun and loving environment, and I love it. So that's a little bit about myself. Today, we're gonna go over Universal. That's the theme for this year. So I was super excited when the social team came to me and they were like, hey, do you want to do this again? And I'm like, yes, I always have fun doing it, right? And I feel like I've talked to students and they watched it and they felt inspired and they wanted to do this. And I'm like, that's why I do it, because I want to inspire you. I want you to push forward and do the best that you can. Follow your dream, right? Like I did, because I definitely did and I love it. So one thing that I want to mention this year is it's one of my favorite years, and I'm gonna say that just because I love Nintendo. I grew up with Nintendo, right? And to be honest, it's one of the things that was part of my childhood that pushed me towards games. I was always playing with my family, playing with my brother, and those things were just, I love the games. So when they told me, hey, can you choose a character? Let's do a mashup, because we're doing Universal, Epic Monsters, and just the entire Epic universe. I was like, I'm so excited. The first thing that I thought about was Rosalina. Rosalina is one of my favorite characters. Hopefully you know where it's from, right? If you don't, it's from Super Mario Galaxy. So there's a background story there if you haven't played that game, 1 and 2. Amazing games. I enjoy them so much. And the second selection that I did for the Universal Monsters and Nintendo Mashup was Frankenstein's Bride. And you're like, Valerie, why, right? And I'm like, I wanted to implement that black and white kind of feel to the texturing when I get to that. And I've been seeing, I was talking to a student and they were like, hey, you should watch the series. And I think it's called Commando. And one of the main characters on that was Frankenstein's Bride. And I was like, wait. I kind of realized I kind of want to do that mashup together. And I started Googling and I was like, let me see if anybody's done a concept. And to be honest, I couldn't find anything. So I was like, oh, so it's maybe a new thing. So I'm just going over my process because this is how my mind goes. And then after that, I was like, okay, I want to do Rosalina. I want to do Frankenstein's Bride. So when I thought about those two, I was like, let me research, as you should, right? At any point in time that you're creating a new character or just an asset. Overall, you want to make sure you do your due diligence on your research. So I wanted to find concepts. I wanted to find references and things that could help me build that almost background idea that I had. So when I got to those selections, I was like, okay, I'm going to do these two. Let me see what I can do. I Googled. I couldn't find a specific concept. I always try to make sure that I have one main concept and many references that will help me with that. And I'll show you a little bit later in a bit of what I mean by that. But from there, what I did, I was just like, okay, cool. Who can I talk to? Who can I talk to that can make this happen? So when I graduated, a long time ago, from Full Sail, I made friends, as we always recommend. Make connections, make friends, talk to people, right? Network. It is definitely important. Trust me. So I made a friendship that's almost spanning 11 years now. And I was like, I'm gonna talk to my bestie. I'm gonna talk to my best friend Paola. Paola, can you make this happen? I have the vision, and I know I definitely can do. I draw. I've done fine arts, but this time I was just like, you know what? Let me see what my bestie or Paola can do, and she got it done. She got the idea that I wanted. I was like, do this, do this, do that. So it's really good to collaborate with other people, because I feel like it helped me a lot, especially with our busy schedules and things that we do. And I feel like she's always doing art on the side. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna give you this idea. What can you do? And the concept came out finally, and I was like, okay, I'm super excited about this. I wanted to do something a little bit more on the simple side, not going too much for the original Nintendo base models, but something more in my style. So when she created that overall reference or concept, I was like, perfect, I can do this in the stream. Hopefully everyone will like it. And I feel like it was an out of place kind of mashup, like in the sense of I've never seen it before. So I was like, oh, let me try this out and see what comes out. So hopefully you will all like what I selected for today's stream. I try to keep this streams very beginner friendly, especially if you've never touched ZBrush before. So if at any point you do have questions, okay, please let me know. And then we can answer those as well. And this is just a place to have fun. If you want to follow along, you also can. So definitely follow if you want to. But again, we can get started, and I'm going to show you the ideas that I have behind that, and hopefully we can get something amazing today, right? And like I said, this is going to be a quick sculpt, so do not expect everything to be done. But I try my best to push forward to kind of get overall the attention to details, the overall silhouette for you guys to understand that. And I'm going to be explaining a couple of things while I do it. So again, if any questions, let me know. Let's get started. Let's go to ZBrush. So I'm going to jump into ZBrush. And I have my little dandy pen here. So if you see me a lot, that's what I'm doing. I have my little pen tablet on the side. I would recommend always make sure to have your pen when you're doing ZBrush. I do not recommend the mouse. It's not the best for sculpting, and it's also not the best for your hand when you're sculpting in ZBrush. So a few things that I always do this in all the streams, and I will leave it to you if you want to. But for me, to be comfortable in ZBrush, I change a couple things when I get in here. So I did go into document, I go into range, and this is just going to get rid of that gradient in the back. And then the second thing that I do, I change this material from that red matte cap to any of the grays, to be honest, but I love the blend. And it's just, I've been accustomed to blend in Maya, if you use Maya, and I've been accustomed to it in ZBrush, so I kind of just keep everything consistent, right? And blend also helps me a lot to see what's happening in the surface when the lighting hits it. So if things aren't smooth when they're supposed to be smooth and things like that, it's going to be easier if I see it with a blend. So if you also want to check out any of the past years that I've done the ZBrush lectures, or the ZBrush, not lectures, but overall sculpts, quick sculpts, I would say, yeah. You can always go to YouTube and check those out. They're all going to be there. And we've done so many. And here are some of the examples. We've done aliens. We've done classic monsters, mythical creatures, The Last of Us. And yeah, it's been like a couple years now. So you can check those out always on YouTube, on Full Sail University's YouTube. And yeah, if you go through those and you have any questions, be free to contact me. I'm always available. So from here, first things first, I did bring a sphere in because I want to start with something simple, and I'm going to show you, and it's all the way in this little tiny corner here. Sometimes I place it there, but I'm going to make this a little slightly bigger. This is my PureRef. If you haven't used this program, it's great. I just throw all my references and concepts in there, organize it, sometimes label it. Hopefully every time you should label everything, and I want to make sure everything is in one page for me to see at the time that I'm sculpting. Because that way I can go through here and there and I just be like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do this, and implement ideas while I'm sculpting. But this year, my friend Paola Cintron, love her, she's great. She did this kind of quick sketch of whatever I was telling her the ideas and the details on what I wanted to see specifically. I didn't want to lose a lot of the Rosalina on there. I wanted to maybe implement 20% of the Frankenstein bride, and then a little bit more of Rosalina. That's why I do have an idea where the hair of the Frankenstein bride is also around, but I was like, I don't want to lose Rosalina too much because her hair is very sleek, very chunky, so I kind of want to keep that. I wanted to keep that. So this is where it came with, and I thought it was amazing. I visually see it, and I think it's really helpful for that. And then all the ideas in my board, in my idea board or my reference board, it's just, hey, this is the character I selected, Rosalina, and I thought it was funny. She named it Rosafrankelina, so I thought it was cute. I was like, oh, that's funny. I like it. So it's like a mashup on those two. And then, of course, I gathered many references of the essence and the style and just the overall feel of what I want her to look at the end. Love this one. And I'm going more of something along the way of a little bit more detail, not so simple as the original character, but we'll see what comes out while I'm sculpting, and I'm like, okay, maybe I want to adjust this, maybe I want to adjust that. But please make sure that if you have any questions, just overall, ask them in the chat, okay? So this is the idea behind that. Let's get started, and I'm gonna put this in here, and I'm gonna push it over there. Okay. So when I start, it depends on my mood, to be honest. Am I going to push things around? Am I gonna model in pieces and put together? Most of the time I do that just because I feel like it's faster for me, but I discovered that while I was sculpting. So if you don't know which path you want to do, if you like to pull things around and get the shapes, or if you're gonna put different models or pieces together or basic shapes together, try both and see which one is for you, right? But for me, I definitely know that pulling it takes a bit longer for me to get the shapes done. So actually working in pieces is gonna be the best way to go. But let's get started. So from here, I'm gonna do a sphere, and that's probably gonna be the top of my head, to be honest. How I kind of break it down, I have two spheres and I duplicate this down. And to duplicate, you're gonna push Control. So Control and click and drag down, and that will duplicate your model there. So from there, I can start getting that shape of the head. And I want her to have that original super, or slightly pointy, because I don't believe hers is very pointy chin. I feel like Peach has a little bit more of a pointier chin. But from here, I want to do a little bit more of a rounder shape. So I'm going to keep it there, and I'm just going to start modeling or moving things around. I'm not going to go too fast into detail yet, just because I don't want to. I want to make sure that I get the proportions right. I want to make sure I place all the objects in there. So it's going to be really nice. Okay, so from here, I'm going to start pulling and pushing, and I'm going to do, this is going to be the top of the face. And if you see me switching, oh, okay, so I forgot about that. And I forgot about that, and that's really nice that it came out. So you saw that warning there. If you do not have this converted as a Polymesh 3D object, ZBrush is not going to let you sculpt on it. So there you go. So from there, I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to append. Appending, you can append whatever shape you want. You can also duplicate the same shape that you have here. Many options. So I'm going to just duplicate that. And then now I'm going to make sure that I do that again, because I totally thought it was a primitive already. So from there, again, BMV. B is going to be your brush palette. M and V are the two letters of the brush that I'm going to use, which at this point is going to be the move brush. Move brush, because you can move your shapes really quickly with symmetry. X is going to be the hotkey for that, and I'm going to be throwing a lot of hotkeys out there. I work a lot with the hotkeys, as I mentioned before, just because it makes my work faster. And I'm going to add a cylinder here, and I'm going to start adding the neck. because I want to make sure I know where the neck is at the moment, right? And it's very thin, it's not too overly thick, so I'm probably going to change that a bit further on, to be honest, but at least have it there for the moment, because we are just blocking things out, right? We're blocking, we're making sure we have our shapes, and I'm gonna have probably like a similar cut to this, because I don't want to go too low either, because that means it would take more time, right? But I want to make sure I have at least a nice block out. And why I divide it like this, again, this is going to be my lower part of the face, and this is going to be my skull and upper part of the face. And I feel like that helps a lot when I'm building things. And then of course I'm going to bring in, I'm going to append a sphere, and I will also block out where my ears will be. I like to do this very, very early, just because sometimes I feel like, oh right, ears. I gotta do the ears, I forgot about that. I don't know if it happens to you, but sometimes it happens to me, okay? And it will also depend on the character and what you're doing and if they have ears or not. Sometimes you can hide them, which is great. So I'm gonna just flatten this side really quickly, and you can cut it, you can flatten it, you can do whatever you want. It's just on how I do it, I just flatten it really quickly, because I know eventually I'm going to just move things along and kind of just sculpt on it a bit more, so it's not just a basic shape. So from that, I just do it really, really quickly and place it wherever I need to do. If you want to move, if you want to use the transpose tool, it's going to be W, E, or R for it to appear, and Q for it to disappear. So W, and then you can just use the gizmo in here. And I did say transpose tool, but this one is actually called the gizmo, and if you press Y, that one's going to be the transpose tool. So they're two different functions, but essentially they do the same thing. You can move things around, scale things around, depending on the pivots. So it's really, really nice to have. So I'm going to just do a smaller ear here for now. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, I just want to make sure that I place it wherever I'm going to utilize it later, but I know I'm going to move it later. But it's just, okay, it's there, cool. If I want to do something along the way of, I'll actually flatten that a bit more. Yeah, that's good. Somewhere along the way of mirroring whatever I'm doing, then I'm going to go really quickly to geometry menu. I'm going to press that. Modify topology right here. And then I'm just going to mirror and weld. So before I continue doing anything, just make sure you save, okay? Make sure you save. So I'm just gonna save this one just in case. And I'm gonna go to my desktop and where I have Rosalina, and then I'm just gonna name it Rosalina or Rosafrankelina, one of those. One. You'll want to make sure you're saving. And this right here will save it as a Z tool, which is a Z tool or file for ZBrush. So from here, I'm gonna just start now getting into the face, because I know myself that the face is one of the things that are going to take the most time, right? So since this is a quick sculpt, we're gonna go quickly over it. I'm gonna turn on symmetry, make sure symmetry is working. So if at any point, there you go, that's working perfect. If at any point you miss symmetry, you can always go into geometry and do the mirror and weld in modified topology. I found that's the best, quickest way to get symmetry back again, because once you kind of lose symmetry in ZBrush, it's kind of difficult sometimes to get it back. But for me, it has been easier to do it as mirror and weld. But of course, make sure that they're not super close to each other within that center line, because if not, they're gonna attach themselves, right? They're gonna weld. So just make sure you have it, and I want to show you what I mean by that. And it's gonna be, you see that center line there, right? It should be one side or the other, so it mirrors to the other side. So just make sure you have that. If not, it's gonna merge. But it's okay, because sometimes there's things that you can do where you can unmerge, or you can delete, or hide and delete, or, you know, anything like that, or even cut. So there's always fixes for everything, so it's okay. So from here, really quickly, I'm gonna start getting into the face. I'm gonna leave the hair for after I create the face, because that way I can be like, okay, my nose is here, the hair strand goes up until here, and things like that. So I feel like it's a little bit easier to do it that way. So I'm gonna go here, and I know that her, there you go, that her face is slightly going to be flatter from the side, slightly, not too much. It's still going to follow the roundness of the face, but it's not going to be extremely realistic, right? So you're not going to have too many changes. So from here, what I do is I start doing the nose. Where am I going to place my nose? I use BCB, which is clay buildup, and then I'm going to go over it really quickly. It's probably going to be around there, maybe a little bit lower. So if you get this where you have two different spheres for the face, you can always go back in here and you can take one sphere and then the other one, right? And I'm going to pull it back up a bit by holding or clicking this arrow here. And I'm going to have them close to each other, and then I'm just going to go merge down, because that way I can have them together, because I'm going to utilize Dynamesh. So most of the time in my pipeline, I do utilize Dynamesh from the beginning, just because I'm trying to get scale proportion, and sometimes Dynamesh gives me the ability to pull things really quickly and hold that shape, so I like that. I love Dynamesh for starting overall sculpts, to be honest. Even doing really quick sculpts, 20, 40, 1 hour, it's really, really nice. So that's why I want to make sure that I merge it, because once I am doing Dynamesh, which is going to be geometry, Dynamesh, it's going to be right here. So I'm going to just hit that, and if I do Shift F, now you're going to be able to see that definitely from this two separate pieces to the Dynamesh piece, it's one thing, right? Which is great. So from here, now I'm going to be able to sculpt on both and then be able to move if I needed to. So from here, I'm going to be like, hey, where is going to be my jawline? So it's probably going to be chin from this side right here, and then jawline all the way up. And I do this, I like to mark my own like spots, like, hey, here goes the eyes, here goes the nose, because I feel like that helps me a lot when I'm sculpting, more than just going in and just building an entire nose and then being like, oh no, now I have to move this, right? So I feel like marking, hey, my eyes are gonna be here, and I do it like that, and then I'm gonna start moving things around, because this is still the sphere that's very spherical, right? So I'm just gonna go and sculpt around. And this Nintendo characters, they're very simple, right? They're simple but complicated. I feel like the more simple things are in sculpting, I feel sometimes they're complicated. And that's why when I see students say, I want to do an anime face, and I'm like, make sure be careful. It's difficult, okay? It's not as easy as it looks. They tend to be more difficult than anything else, because the simplicity is the hardest thing to kind of achieve in sculpting, especially. So the simple things. So from here, I'm utilizing trim dynamic. I am cutting off that excess at the bottom, and I'm starting to create the planes of the face. So if you haven't seen the planes of the face, definitely try that. You're gonna see it in your future classes if you're here at Full Sail, and they're gonna go and explain all those, but you can definitely Google and go to the images side, and there's many examples there. If you're a visual person like I am, I'm like, what is she talking about? Look it up. It's really nice. If you study those, it's gonna be really helpful for you in the long run when you're creating faces and overall. And there's one that's also planes of the body, so also it's really nice. But here we start having a face, right? Just an overall, and I'm not going specifically to her face yet, because I just want to get the overall shape of this is becoming something, right? So you're starting to go around, and like I said, I like trim dynamic a lot. I do a lot of moving, and I also do, let me see, like that. And I also do clay buildup. There you go. That word was escaping me. So I can go, this is gonna be the start of my face. So then from here, I do the same thing around. I want to make sure I have my ears, I have my bust, and I have my neck. The neck, I think it's a little bit thinner, to be honest, so I'm gonna do that now. And then once I go over my face again, I'm gonna start changing things again. So from here, I'm gonna go to the body and I'm gonna go Dynamesh it, and I'm gonna start shaping that. So it's super cubic right now, right? I'm gonna make sure that my symmetry is on each of the tools. That's gonna be easier. And then I'm just going to start cutting things out. So I feel like her shoulders are definitely just going down, and I can do many things. I can take it from this cube and just start pushing things around. Like I said before, you can be like, okay, this is gonna be my shoulder. Actually, they're gonna be a little bit more here. And then all this could be either cut off, or I can push it around. It's gonna be your decision. I rarely start with cubes, which is kind of funny that I started with cubes today. I most of the time start with just a sphere. I feel like spheres are a little bit easier to control, but let's go with this one and see what happens, right? It's good to explore. It's good to just try and see what you like and what you don't like. And like I always tell my students, if you fail, then you probably learned something from that failure as well. So it's fine. Do not be afraid to fail. I always like that. So I'm gonna go here, and I think the Dynamesh is a little bit too high for this one. How do you know? Because I'm trying to smooth by holding shift, and it's barely smoothing. And I'm like, I don't like that. It's making my life complicated. So go into resolution and just go all the way down. You're gonna control and click and drag on the canvas, and that should Dynamesh. And now you see that the resolution kind of went a little bit low. That's perfect for when you're doing blockouts, because now I can just soften that and it's so much better. So you won't have to spend 20 minutes just trying to smooth that out, right? So make sure to adjust your resolution. I cannot tell you a specific one because it will depend on so many things. It will depend on scale, it will depend, on what you're trying to do. So test it out. Again, test things out. So I'm just gonna push these down a bit more. And I know this still has one more area here, but I'm probably going to just do this, kind of make it like that, and then attach it. Because I feel that's gonna be a little bit easier for me to kind of get that shape better. Let me see. At least for now. So from here, I'm gonna go back to the face, which again, I know it's gonna take me the most time. And I'm gonna start doing where my nose is gonna go again. And you saw that I did it before and I smooth it out. That's just how my brain works. I'm like, I don't like that. Let me try this again. And I think that's how you should be doing things. You should be just trying things. If you don't like them, if you feel like they're a little looking weird, or you're like, this feels off, try it again. Do a duplicate. Delete everything. Try it again and see if you like it better. And compare it to the last one. That's why I always say, do duplicates. Do changes really, really quickly, and then see if you like it or not. So from here, I feel like Rosalina's mouth is very tiny and very cutesy, and just overall, I'm gonna get closer to that. And because I'm going to this one, so I'm gonna go closer to that. And we have two styles in here. We have the hair wisps a little bit smoother with the color, with the texture, and then we have these. I feel like I'm gonna do these because they feel a little bit more Frankenstein's bride-ish, right? But from here, her mouth is very tiny, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna utilize BDS, Stamp Standard, and just line it up. Again, this is gonna be changed later on, and her mouth tends to be very also round and super cutesy. And you see me going back Control Z a lot because I'm like, again, I don't like that. I don't like that line. Let me see if I can try it again and check it out. And there you go. There you go. That's better. And again, I'm gonna go over that. I'm gonna establish the bridge, and I'm gonna establish where my nose is gonna be. And I'm gonna keep getting into the plane of the faces. So I'm gonna do, hey, this is gonna be my ocular area where my eyes are gonna be, and then my cheekbone area, side and front. And this is all very quickly. I'm not establishing anything yet. I am going to look from the side. I'm going to see how this is looking, because this is looking a little crunchy here. So I'm going to go and push some things around, and I'm going to try to round that out, or maybe make this a little bit over here, move it around, and then get rid of this area here. There you go. Because I do have the neck already there, so that essentially is completing that piece. Not fighting it too much. There you go. So from there, that is established, and I'm gonna go and look at this from the side a bit because I feel like this feels a little weird here. So I might need to push this down and establish that, and I'm gonna go and push that in there. And again, I'm gonna smooth that again because I do that all the time. And I'm gonna start establishing what is gonna be the pointier side of my chin. There you go. From the front and from the side, you should be able to see that shape from all sides, right? Even from the bottom, sometimes you're gonna have to go in there and kind of shape things out. So I'm gonna go and make it a little bit thinner. And I don't tend to, well, sometimes I do. It will depend. It will depend on how it goes. I don't tend to go too much into characters that are too smoothed out on the surface. I don't tend to sculpt on them too much. I try to push things around a little bit easier. That's good. So then from there, I'm going to go a little bit more deeper on the ocular area. I feel like it definitely is. So I'm going to use BIN, which is inflate. I love inflate because you can inflate things. It's great. And if you do Alt, it will do the reverse of inflate. So it's going to go in. And these is really nice for that ocular area because it's very, very light. It doesn't have to go super deep. And I wouldn't go super deep for this one. I don't think it's necessary. But overall, I feel like that's going to be a really good transition. And again, they're very soft. The Nintendo characters are very soft, very round, very, how I see it in my brain, it's like almost like fluffy or chunky. So, but still smooth, right? So that is the kind of vibe that I want to get to that. And that's why I don't tend to sculpt a lot, or I smooth a lot, just because I want to make sure that the surface itself is reading well when I'm doing it. But I'm still building under that anatomy. So that's why I am smoothing, but I'm still building and making sure that the anatomy is under that because I want it to work. I want it to read over that simplicity, if that makes sense. Yes. So hopefully I'm not going too fast, but if you all, have questions, do let me know. Sometimes my brain goes in automatic because I've been doing this for so long. So it just happens. But from here, from the side, definitely we need to work on that. Ooh, definitely. From the front is not looking too bad. And I'm gonna do BTD, which is gonna be trend dynamic again. And I'm gonna go to the front and I'm gonna cut all this, because this feels a little bit too, and I don't need to worry too much on this because we're gonna have the hair, but I just want to have the overall shape, right? I don't want to have this looking great and then this looking not great in the back. So that's why I always go a little bit over it slightly if I need to, but I can always change that, right? So from here, I'm gonna now establish the nose. The nose is one of the things that I established first. I feel like it's a good guide for everything else. How far is the nose from the eyes? How far is the mouth from the nose? And things like that. So I feel like the nose is one of my favorite things to start with. Sometimes I feel like it's one of the hardest things to get to work overall, but it's one of my favorite things to start with. So what I do is I do a clay build-up, very, very round. It will depend on what type of nose I'm creating, to be honest. If it's cutesy, if it's minimal, if it's, seen extremely, depends. But I always go to the side, take a move tool, and I kind of create that indentation there. I feel like she has it, but not as much. But don't worry, it's not gonna stay like that. I'm always gonna plump it up a bit more, but it's just establishing the curve from the side so I can start seeing something happening, right? So from there, I'm gonna go a little bit more smooth out in this side and start establishing a little bit more of that ocular cavity again, very lightly because it's barely there. So from there, I'm gonna go back again to the mouth and I'm gonna establish that. I most of the time tend to go a little bit higher on the resolution for the Dynamesh at this point, but not yet. I'm gonna start putting the eyes. So I'm gonna go in here, append, and I'm gonna go a sphere. I would recommend a sphere. If at any point you need to change the sphere to be some other shape, then you can. But I feel like it's one of the cleanest basic shapes in ZBrush. So I'm gonna push it in there and I'm going to eyeball it, pun intended. I'm gonna eyeball that And I'm gonna do maybe there. We're gonna move it again. We're gonna move it once you start placing and managing the face a bit more. But for now, I think that's okay there. I think that's okay. So, and I'm looking at this one from the side as well. Of course, this one is more of a flat image. That's why I always look for extra references on anything. Anything that I can find that can help me establish that 3D feel, that if you were close to this character and you went around it or you were talking to it and you're like, hey, how would it look to you, right? And that's how I kind of like to express myself sometimes with students, like, hey, if you're reading or if you're translating from a flat image, put yourself, if you were inside of Maya, and how would it look if you were looking around it, right? And I know it's difficult, but once you practice it, it would make sense. But I feel like that helps. It helped me to kind of understand, okay, if I go to the side, how would this person look? It wouldn't be flat, right? It wouldn't be just a flat face. It would have structure. So that's why I'm gonna look at 3/4 and I'm gonna look at sides, and that's gonna help me a lot. And if you are missing information at any point, you want to make sure that you look for your references. If you're missing information or if things are looking weird, again, go look how other artists do things. Go look at other references. Maybe look for inspirations. Oh, I want it to look like this. And then I would then use that to kind of push more of your sculpting or overall art, to be honest. But from there, I'm going to go again, and I'm going to go geometry, modify topology, mirror and welt, and that way we can establish some eyes in there. But from here, going back to the nose, BCB, clay buildup, and I'm gonna start building the nose a bit more. And I know it's really soft and sharp in certain areas. It's very cutesy, and overall the structure is there, but at the same time is not, which I think it's interesting. So I'm gonna have it where it has some more structure, but not as much. And then I'm gonna start pulling things around brow area, making sure the brow is there, because she definitely has the brow and that transition there, but not as much. So smooth that out. Now I'm gonna smooth this again, and I'm gonna see how it's looking. So from there, cool, okay, we are establishing the shape, we are establishing overall, the volume could be worked on, right? Because this is a little bit more rounder. I do inflate sometimes, right? I inflate it, or I just clay build up it and smooth it out. But it's just to establish like that little front volume of your nose. From there, now I'm gonna move from the nose for a bit, and you see me just jumping around everything because I feel like focusing on something for like more than 30 minutes, you know, you're kind of just focusing on that too much. Then that one is going to be super awesome and amazing, and then everything else is not going to match that style or that overall resolution or quality. So from there, I'm going to go jump into the mouth, and I'm going to just make it a little bit cutesy, right? We established that, top lip, bottom lip. And what I like to do is I establish the overall shapes, and I start clay build up. And I'm gonna do one on the top, one at the bottom, and I'm gonna smooth it out again. Again, you see me a lot smoothing that, but it's blending nicely with the overall body. So from here, or overall face, it looking a little flat, right? It is, it really is. So now I'm gonna go into this specific view right here, and I gotta fix that there. But I'm gonna go to this specific view and think about it, right? We have a dental structure, right? If we had teeth, they would probably be coming out right here. They would probably be intersecting out. So if you think about it that way, it's gonna be a C shape. And this is going back to basic human anatomy, right? And you want to also have basic human anatomy when you're creating characters like this, because that will mean that all the details, like I said, I'm creating the details on the surface. Even though I'm smoothing them, they're still appearing there. The anatomy is there. So from there, I'm gonna just push this out. I'm gonna create a C shape, and I'm gonna always look, and it's gonna change from the front. Yes, definitely. We can move that later, but you wanna make sure it's not flat. It's gonna be a round C shape. That's how I see it in my brain. So from there, I'm gonna go into that. and I'm gonna go a little bit more in there, and I know it's not gonna be super sharp, but it kind of pushed it up, right? Kind of looks a little bit up. Then we can always take a move tool, a big move tool, and kind of just push it down. Or to be honest, sometimes I just do this. I'm like, I don't like that. It's okay. I'm gonna draw it again. So now I'm gonna do, okay, it's gonna be there, and then it's gonna be here, and it's gonna be here, and I do that process again. So it will depend on how it's looking for me. But again, I'm not attached to that original shape. That's what's gonna help you a lot, getting the shapes quickly done. You're not attached to something. If it's not looking good, try it again. So from here, I think actually I like that one better, and it's reading well with the puffiness of the mouth, so I like that. Okay, cool. So from there, now I'm like, okay, I established something. I'm liking how it's looking. Maybe some things could be moved here, but again, I'm looking at this one, but I'm also looking at, I want it to be soft. I want it to be slightly soft, so I'm gonna leave it a little bit more of a C shape at the top. But from there, I'm gonna go and now jump ahead again to the nose. So her nose, I want it to be cute and tiny and structure in some ways, but not in others. So I want it to separate a bit from the face. And here I'm gonna go to the side, and I'm actually gonna fix this area here that's bothering me. So I'm gonna fix that area there. And I'm gonna establish this again. There you go. Just take a minute to fix that because it definitely was bothering me that there was a weird shadow there. So from there, I'm gonna smooth that out again, and that's good. That could be the back of the head, but again, doesn't need to be too detailed because I'm gonna cover it with hair. But from here, I'm gonna establish the nose really quickly, and then I'm gonna go jump into the eyes, and then we can start doing the overall block out of the hair. Because then again, I'm gonna block it out, and then I'm gonna finish the face again, and I'm gonna go back and forth between that, because that way you're gonna have something more complete in less time. Little tip there. But from there, I'm gonna establish that. I like the little tiny nose, adorable. The bridge could be worked on. I feel like it could be a little bit more, it's barely here in this concept, right? But if you look at here, it's more established. You can definitely see the shadow of that change. So that means it's more pronounced, more out. So I'm gonna go a little bit, maybe in between those two. Kind of just smooth it out. And then from here, once I do that bridge of the nose, I'm gonna start doing the eyes, because I feel like, where are my eyes? Where are they ending? Where are they beginning? Are they working with my face at the moment, right? So I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna start doing, and I think this right here, like I said, it's too close. So then we might need to move these, and then we might need to move the face. But again, let's establish first where they end and where they start and end, and then we can move them if we need to. So I'm gonna go with a Damien standard or a Dam standard, and I'm gonna go over that. And there's many ways you can create eyes. You can go really, really deep in the ocular cavity and then just push them in there, right? As Human Anatomy does. But I feel like for Nintendo characters, they have a slightly different structure. I feel like it's more, for me, it's easier to build around it more than just push them in the face. We'll see how it goes, but I feel like it's easier that way. But from here, I'm gonna go and establish that. And if areas like this are not pushing out too much, it's fine, because we can always make the eyes in a bit more or out a bit more, whatever you need. In this case, slightly in. I'm gonna slightly flatten them, not too much, just slightly, to work with that for a bit and see how that looks. And if I do that and it goes in too much, then I kind of just move them around. I always like to keep them spherical. Maybe there's been a couple situations where I had to change the spherical shape because, I don't know, maybe it was more of an anime kind of type of thing of eye, and it's a little bit more flatter. I'm just gonna paint on that, right? So it will depend on your specific character or object that you're creating, but most of the time I keep them spherical. Yeah, I don't think I've had too many issues with that. But I'm gonna just go over that, and again, I'm gonna establish where is it ending, so it's probably gonna be a little bit higher there, and It's super sharp. I know, it looks a little bit too sharp. But don't worry, that's not the point right now. The point is to establish your parameters. From there, I'm gonna do the bottom as well. And I don't tend to do like this. I look at the eye and I'm like, okay, how cut it is. This one feels a little bit too diagonal. So I'm probably gonna do a little bit more in between these two again, because this feels a little bit too diagonal, but I like that at the same time. So again, I'm gonna put the end point at the top, and then from there, all this right here is going to be my, there you go, where my lashes are gonna be. It looks a little bit off, right? Don't worry, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna control, go into this corner right here, and I'm gonna utilize, let me see if I can move this around. There you go. Mask lasso is one of my favorite things in the world, apart from ZBrush, of course. I love ZBrush. I always say ZBrush is the love of my life, because it just makes me so happy, to be honest. Even if I just throw something in there really quickly for funsies, it just makes me happy. So from here, I'm gonna do the mask lasso, and I'm gonna take that bottom, and I'm just gonna push it up a bit more. And I'm gonna work with the face, right? I'm not gonna work against it, so I'm not gonna go in too much. I'm still gonna follow the shape of the nose and the transition of that plane, but I'm gonna slightly round it out, and I feel like it's too bug-eyed, to be honest. So maybe I'm gonna either move it in a bit more, or I'm going to move things around. But trust me, this will come with experience, kind of just moving things around and trying things. Just practice. Practicing will be good for you. So now, sure, we have something that's following something. That's the point, right? We have our corner here established. We have our corner here semi-established. There you go. It looks a little wiggly. That's fine, because we can go over it, smooth it out, right? I'm smoothing it out. Losing a little bit of detail, but still making sure that this feels softer, okay? Softer transition. So, oh, we have a question. Yay! So, question, what advice would you give students learning ZBrush for the first time? Ooh, that's a great question, actually. Advice, practice. Definitely, I did mention practice. 100% practice, and practice quickly. You see that this is quick sculpting? Definitely practice quick sculpts. And I'm like, okay, when I used to be a student, I was like, what was this, a quick sculpt? What is this, right? Because sometimes you don't know, and it's fine. Look up quick sculpts, and you're gonna see so many out there, and it's just 20, 40 an hour sculpts that you do just to practice. And it could be as many times as you want. What I used to do is I would grab something that I like. Let's say I want to do a character, and she is a toad character. So I would quickly be like, okay, I'm gonna, Alexa, put an alarm for like 20 minutes. And then I would quickly sculpt and see what came out. 20 minutes, probably not gonna be something finished, right? But it's gonna be something, and that's the point. You're gonna practice it. And then I would be like, Alexa, an hour. And then I would do really quickly sculpts, because again, and I would do the same one. I wouldn't change, and I wouldn't even continue even. You can definitely continue the first one, but what I would do is I would do 20 minutes, really quick one, do another one for 40, and then do another one for an hour, different sculpts, starting from zero, because that's gonna build how fast you're gonna build and see shapes and scale and proportions. So it's practicing the same thing over and over again, essentially, giving yourself slightly more time and seeing more results. But it's gonna be really good. So that's my answer for that. Hopefully that makes sense. That's gonna be my answer. Just do quick sculpting and learn your hotkeys. When you're learning ZBrush, learn your hotkeys. They're gonna be really useful for how fast you're gonna be. So from here, I'm gonna go into again and build those eyes. And you know, she has a crease and everything. I see it, don't worry, I see it. It's right here somewhere. But I'm just building the overall how it feels. If I go to my 3/4, does the eye feel buggy a little bit? Yes. So if that happens, you're gonna have to, again, push it in a bit more. And this is how I work, because I feel like it's easier for me to push things around than build. I feel like if I build it around the eye, sometimes it's like super buggy, or bug eye, and it's too much. So for me, it's like, let me see how this works. If not, let me push it in a bit more. Then if I need to show more of the eye, I go always in here And if you're not seeing, I'm going into Dam Standard and I'm pushing the inside of it. So it comes around the eye a bit more. And if you want to, you can as well just move things around. I would say lightly, don't go too wild in the movement because it might break some things, but just slightly go around and move it around. And I'm gonna go and look at this from the side because I feel like there's some things missing here and I feel like it's the cheekbone area. So I'm gonna go and establish that a bit more because I feel like I want her to be rounder and softer. So I'm gonna go and push a couple things around now. And you know what? I'm gonna do this really quickly so you understand the change. So I'm gonna duplicate my model and I'm gonna turn this little eye off. And this is just gonna turn the visibility off that specific object or ZBrush tool, which is the object essentially. And then from here, I'm gonna go into moving things because I do this all the time. Like I said, I'm like, okay, let me move things quickly. Do I like this? Do I not like this? What's going on if I do this? So I'm gonna go and smooth that out there and I'm gonna go and push that out and I want her to be round. And this is what I'm thinking when I'm sculpting. And sometimes I laugh with my students because I'm doing lecture or I'm sculpting in the class or I'm just doing something and I am just talking to myself. And I'm so sorry, but I totally do that because it makes me concentrate and it makes me, okay, this is happening. I can do this. Is this looking better? I feel like the mouth is looking a little bit too much, so I'm going to bring that down. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to push this forward so it balances out the face and things like that. So, and then the eyes are looking a little bit too wide. Do I like that? Yeah, I know what's happening. Yeah. Okay, cool. So from here, I'm gonna bring this in and I'm gonna overall just do this and then do this. That helps me scale it a bit more. And then maybe also as well, do this a bit. And you see how I'm putting her a little bit more forward? Sometimes I build things and they feel like they're looking up for some reason. I'm like, okay, I know that I have to make that change eventually of just straighten them a little bit more because if not, it looks like she's looking up all the time. So I'm like, cool, I know I have to do that. And you know yourself and you will know eventually yourself when you start sculpting things. You're like, okay, I know I do this all the time. So you're like, okay, let me check this. And it happens. Okay, another question. Let me finish that eye there. There you go. And then I established that there, and that's gonna be my corner. Cool. Sorry, eyes and nose are something that I just love working on, but I know it takes me a bit more because I want them perfectly. So, question, what are some common mistakes beginners make when sculpting in ZBrush? Ooh, wow, these are great questions. Keep them coming. Yeah. Okay. Common mistakes. I am gonna say not saving. And you know what? I'm also gonna save. I would say not saving is one of the common mistakes because I feel like they get too focused in sculpting, but then they're not saving. Things crash. Software is not perfect. Nothing is perfect, right? So then, of course, you're not saving. You haven't saved. You worked on it for an hour. You liked how it looked. You loved it, and then you didn't save. Common mistake. Second mistake, and I can say I think 3. So second mistake would be not understanding the difference between Dynamesh and subdivision levels and just adding so much topology into things. I would say that's the second. And just briefly, Dynamesh is going to be primary, secondary shapes. So your block out, your slightly refinement of your silhouette. And subdivision levels are mostly used for surface details, normal information detail. Think about wrinkles, think about moles if you had them, like, you know, popping out a bit more on the surface if it wasn't just texture. Scratches, crow's feet, things like that. That's going to be more tertiary detail, and that's going to be a little bit more on the subdivision tool side, okay? And then Dynamesh is just going to be blocking out, doing what I'm doing right now really quickly. So understanding that difference, when to start, when to use things and certain tools, I feel like that's really important. So I'm gonna do that. Do I like that? Yeah. There you go. So you see how I'm starting to establish it a bit more, right? I think we're good establishing just a face. We're on a face, right? Which is good. We are like, that's the goal. It reads as a face. So now we're gonna start refining the areas. Okay, what does Rosalina, like, how does she look? What does it make Rosalina her? So I would say small, definitely a small mouth. And you see me here adjusting because sometimes I move the focal shift by accident. And that's just the area that's affected. I'm not a fan that I do that all the time, but it happens. It's like the Windows key. It's actually impressive that I haven't clicked it yet because I click it all the time. And I'm like, no, the Windows key again. So here I'm going to just go into this specific view and you see how it goes in too much. Not liking that, pushing that out a bit more. And now it just looks like a face, right? So we can still establish some of the cheekbones a bit more and some of the chin area a bit more, maybe the jaw as well. I feel like the chin might be a little bit too inward, so I might push this out, but I don't want to, you know, give her an extreme crimson chin, right? So I'm just gonna start building it a bit more there and then move it around. And you see how I'm going with the flow of the face? This is my direction. So that's gonna build within that shape or the flow of it, and it's not going to build against it. It's not going to build bumps as much, right? Because you're still going to go and smooth it out and it's going to follow that shape better. So now I'm going to go and look at that again and see if I need to refine it because I feel like it's slightly thinner, and it's mostly going to be this transition here that I'm going to be looking at. So it's going to be from the chin to the top of the cheekbones. And what I always do when I'm doing stylized characters, I just kind of just push them from the side here. You always want to have them on the side more than on the front, because on the front is going to be more of the transition of your nose through your ocular area, right? They tend to be more, if you kind of look at actual human anatomy, they tend to be more on this corner, right? That tends to be your cheekbone area. So I kind of always as well have that in the back of my mind when I create even simple stylized characters. So from here, this is looking okay at the moment. I feel like the eyes are way too in because I see the space between here and here. So that's when I start pushing things around, but you see how even those two pushes is helping me establish more of the eye area. And then we have this kind of just coming in. This could actually be a little bit lower and this a little bit up. But that's going to be another finer detail when I go a little bit more on the finer details on the sculpt. So from here, I'm going to quick save. You can also quick save here as well. I do quick save a lot. ZBrush also does, like, I believe I have it set up for every 20 minutes to save. Just in case, you can also do that if you forget. And I'm going to go to this side again because I am not happy with how this is looking here, so I'm gonna push things around a bit more and see what I like. And that's gonna be moved again when I go into the hair. And I'm gonna go from this view and this view. This one looks a little bit too thin. There you go. Or too inwards. Oh, that made it so much better. Okay, so and then I'm gonna establish this chin again. This one is giving me issues today. Like, why are you not being super pointy? You got it, you got it. I also don't want to go like this and be like, oh, that's super pointy, right? You want to treat it nicely and kindly. From there, I'm going to go and save again, because you never know. Ooh, you never know when ZBrush is having its fit. So let me see what's going on. And this is why I save a lot. Because if anything happens at any point, which to be honest it happens, where I can't move, it's fine because you know what? I saved. Ha! That is the best part. I saved. So celebrate with me. Yes. So if this happens where I can't actually, I'm actually trying to, oh, it's having its fit. It's okay. Oh, there you go. I let it be. I was actually talking to a student yesterday about this, and it's funny because technology, we can't control only a certain thing. So if it crashes, if you're one of those students that everything used to crash, and or get corrupted, it's okay. Like, try to find patience or practice patience, because it will eventually happen, and it's okay. And what I was talking to this, and I was like, don't try not to get frustrated. Take a moment, go get some food, go get a cup of coffee when that happens. Come back with a clear mind, because I feel like if you get too frustrated when things like that happen, and trust me, I know, sometimes I go and cry into a corner. I'm like, no, I spent like 8 hours on this, right? It's okay. Like, just treat it as, okay, this happens. Let me calm down. Let me go do something. If you have a cat or a dog, just go take a walk. If you had chickens like I do, go feed your chickens. So, and then come back with a fresh mind, less frustration, and start over again. Because I feel like a lot of students just get too frustrated and then they don't want to do it. They don't want to continue doing it. And that's what you kind of want to avoid. You want to do what you love, right? So if this happens, it's fine. That's cool. Control N. If you have another image or another duplicate of your model there, Control N. That will clear the canvas. And I'm going to save again. And I'm actually going to save a second one. I don't tend to save over a lot on the same file. I have many iterations. I would recommend it. So now, from there, do we have another question? Yes, we do. So, who are some artists or games that inspire style? Ooh, oh, wow. That is a very long question. My brain is like, so many artists. Like, I follow so many people in so many things. When I did realism or realistic characters, when I started doing stylized, I have so many artists. Magdalena Adela, love her. She is great texturing artist and overall sculptor. She inspired me. Jose Diba, also super hyper realistic, but just overall the process and the shapes and the results, love that. So many people and games, as well as Nintendo, of course. Like I mentioned before, definitely Nintendo is one of them. But I feel like the point in my life where I was like, I want to do this, and I always tell my students, I don't want to be basic, but it's true, it happened. It was a true story. So I was in the middle, and I was telling the story this last week to my students. I was in the middle of, I was playing GTA 5, of course, fun stuff, fun. And, I saw it. Sorry, I saw where the flatness is. It's right there. So I was like, in the middle of GTA 5, I was in my Mini Cooper, or the version of the Mini Cooper they have, and I was just hanging out around, going around the highway, looking at the mountains. And there was this moment in that time in the game that I was like, there was like a sunset and everything looked good and the mountains look amazing. And I remember getting out of the Mini Cooper and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And in real life, I was just like, I want to learn this. I want to know how to do that. I was crying. I'm not crying. I'm not lying. I was definitely crying. I was like, I want to do this in real life. How do I do this? So I remember that specifically moment in time because it was like the point where I was like, I need to know how to learn how to do 3D. Like where I used to live at the time, it was barely a thing, right? It was barely anything. Like 3D wasn't a thing. So I was like, okay, I need to move. I need to change my life to do this because I really want to do it. And I did it. I moved. I studied here at Full Sail. I went and I had so much fun. I had the most fun. And I learned characters. I learned every pipeline. Had great instructors. Great. I love them all. And yeah, and I'm here. So, long story short, that is the overall my story, right? And of course, it wasn't just GTA, it was many. I had a favorite game, it's called Maximo. And it's like a PS2 game, love that game as well. Played all the Mario ones. My favorite ones are Super Mario Galaxy, as you see that I chose Rosalina. But overall, yes, and of course I follow many artists. Like I said, I have a list. I have so many just inspiring me and seeing everything every day. I'm gonna go and soften that a bit more. So now I'm gonna go into the lips a bit more because I feel like Rosalina from the side, she has like almost like puckered lips. So we can push that a bit more, I feel. So I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna go move tool and I'm gonna make these way fluffier. And there you go. And I'm gonna not exaggerate that too much, but I'm gonna go a little bit more. And yeah, we can definitely, that's a little bit intense there, but I feel like that's happening because of my chin. I know my chin is a little bit too back. I know it, but I don't want her. Let me see if I can move things around. There you go. I don't want her to be super chin again, but there should be a certain amount of you know, how far it is from the other, because if not, it looks too difficult from one side to the other, or it looks too separated. So now again, for that corner, I'm gonna go and smooth it out, and I'm gonna go there again. Hover over all that, and I know I need a lot of more resolution, but don't worry, that's not my problem right now. My problem is, that's gonna be Valerie's future problem, my future problem later on, or future Valerie's problem. It's going to be there along that line, and then smooth them or small them a little bit more. And she doesn't have them very thick or anything like that, so I'm gonna fight that later on. But okay, cool. Do I like that? But the point of it all, the point of me doing a duplicate, I don't like how that one turned out there. So I'm going to smooth that out again. And I'm going to round it out again, because I don't like how that was looking there. There you go. And then I'm going to do that again. Very subtle. Very subtle. Okay, so now the nose looks a little bit short, so that means I'm gonna have to move a couple things around. So I'm gonna move this down, and I'm gonna move this down, and I'm gonna start placing this a bit more. And to be honest, I think I'm gonna have to do a little bit more of the face down here, so it starts feeling a little bit better. Yeah, there you go. And I'm gonna show you the before and after when I did the duplication. There's a reason why I did that, okay? And it's just to show you the changes that I made, and if I like them, if I don't like them. I'm gonna do that little blip at the bottom to make sure I break up that, because we definitely have it here. And then from there, again, the nose feels still a little bit too up, but I'm gonna go and break it down a bit more. So I'm gonna go in here, and the first thing I do is maybe up the resolution a bit more, slightly, not too much, because again, I want to be able to smooth things. Okay, so from here, extract, no, that's not what I want to do. I'm gonna go Dynamesh, and I'm gonna do a little bit more of the resolution. To be honest, I just do it manually myself, and I'm gonna do that. Cool. So now I can still smooth, maybe, let me see. It's okay, that's too much. I'm gonna go 112. That's good. And then I'm going to then look at the surface and start doing some areas here and there, because again, I'm just getting the overall shape of what I want first. And I think it looks really smooth, which is nice, and that's what we want to. But again, we can jump into the hair, because if not, I'm gonna be here in the face forever, because I am, like maybe you identify, a perfectionist sometimes. I'm like, I want this to be here, I want this to be there. It happens, trust me, it happens. So I think that moving things around in the sense of, you know, jumping to other areas helps me not hyper focus on some things, which, trust me, it happens. So from here, I'm gonna soften this, and I'm gonna start doing the hair, because I think the bust, I'm gonna leave it for later on. If at any point I do not finish this today, because again, it's a quick sculpt, I will always, as always, I will record this, and you can see it as well posted on the Full Sail page. I believe they posted on Instagram and I believe TikTok as well, maybe, don't quote me on that, but if at any point, definitely check those pages and they will be there. It will definitely be there. And I'm gonna go a little bit more in the sense of, I wanna texture this, and I wanna texture it black and white. So I'm gonna take my time doing that, but I also want to make sure you see that, right? So I'm gonna record that for you. But from here, everything is good. The eyes could still be adjusted, but I'm going to now jump into the hair. Because the hair is chunky, right? Chunky, bubbly are just the words that I have in my mind when I am doing this. Then I'm gonna go and first of all, save this. And you see me saving a lot? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm gonna go and append, and I'm gonna start appending spheres. I feel like the spheres are gonna be perfect for her hair. And I'm gonna go and BSH is gonna be the tool that I'm gonna use. The reason why is because I'm actually gonna turn on Dynamesh as well on this sphere. Very low, doesn't need to be that intense. The reason is because BSH or snake hook, you can just push things around and then use Dynamesh, right? And then it will hold those shapes. So I love that. I love that. And of course, if I utilize it in a way where I'm gonna do her hair, right? I'm gonna just put this in here. That's gonna be essentially a base. I would recommend create your hair separate from the face, from the bust, as much as possible. It's gonna make your life easier when you have to topologize, move things, etc. So create those in chunks if needed. So from there, I'm gonna go back to here because I noticed something and I want to change it. There you go. And that could be adjusted a bit more, but it's okay. Again, we're focusing on the hair so then we can go back to the face again and kind of move things around and see how it's looking. So from there, I'm gonna have that sphere as the base of the hair, and that's probably gonna be just from the top to like a bob-ish, right? So I'm gonna go in here and make sure that my symmetry is on and kind of have it along the line of this. So from there, doesn't have to be too perfect. This is just, again, the overall structure. I'm gonna go and take that same sphere and I am going to control, move the gizmo, and I'm going to change this again. And this is gonna be the front one. I feel like her hair has definitely a huge bang, right? That's what makes her Rosalina, that's what I feel, right? So I'm going to do that, and I can do it a couple things. I'm gonna make it a smaller sphere, and I can do a new sphere because I definitely changed this one, but I just tend to utilize the ones that I have there. So from there, I'm gonna go BSH again, but it's gonna be your choice, to be honest, if you want to just have a new one. It's fine, it's okay. So I'm gonna go and kind of make it the shape that I want, and I'm gonna place it as close as I can to the face, because it's probably gonna be, oh, make sure the symmetry is not on at this point because you're gonna break symmetry. So X, and now you don't break that. And I'm gonna place it here as close as I want to the face, and I'm gonna do BSH again. And you can also do this with a curve. It doesn't necessarily have to be a basic shape. You can do it with whatever you want. This is just how I prefer to do it. So now I'm just gonna smooth this out. If it's too much in resolution, I'm gonna lower that a bit. Ooh, and before I do that, actually, I am going to push this side because I feel like this side is definitely a bit more, and then this one goes in here. And I'm imagining that here is gonna be the split. And you can also have it on your base. You can take damn standard and then just have it there, so you have a visual representation of where you're gonna stop. You definitely can. And then I'm gonna go back to this one, and I'm gonna be like, okay, cool. I'm gonna place this here, place it there, and we're starting to see something happening, right? Which is good. And how flat it is or how thinner it is, you can adjust that later. Again, we're just trying to set it up somewhere. And it's mostly going halfway, right? On all those concepts here. It's gonna go halfway, even this one halfway, this one halfway. So what we can do is do that. So I'm gonna do and push it down with the snake hook. So BSH again, the hotkey, and I'm just gonna push it down. It doesn't have to be super thin at the moment because I can just adjust that later. Big snake hook. If you do tiny snake hook, you're gonna get these little guys kind of trying to push out, okay? So do a big snake hook. And then I'm gonna set it up maybe on the side, so when I go 3/4, I can barely see that. So I'm gonna go a little bit more down, a little bit more down, and kind of just, you know, go there. And you start seeing what I'm seeing, hopefully, right? So from here, make it rounder at the top, and I'm gonna do pinch, BPI. Pinch is great. I love pinch. Be careful with pinch. If it goes too pinched, it will be too extreme. So tap, I would say tap would be the way to go. If you go too much, it will do that to your geometry. So be aware with pinch, but it's a great tool. So from here, I'm gonna pinch the bottom because of course it tends to go tapered, right? So I'm just gonna do very, very thin, and I'm just tapping, okay? I'm tapping. Tapping, tapping, tapping. And it's okay if it slightly changes my geometry because I can always go back in here, or my shape, and I can always go back in here and shape it again. But then I'm gonna leave it there. I know it's gonna be thin or thinner, that's fine. This, what I tend to do for hair when it looks more flat than thick, I always go in here and I go and take Tree Dynamic, and I very lightly do this, and that's gonna create that thin surface or thin edge. And I always sometimes go in the inside, depending, but when I'm blocking out, I just leave it as it is for now. Kind of get that direction on the lighting on how I want it, if you see it like right here. And then I smooth that out. Sometimes I do also go back and do damp standard on the edge. Again, it will depend. It will depend on how I kind of do that, because it feels like it builds that plane a bit more. But for now, I'm gonna leave it as is. Maybe I'm going to go in here and I'm gonna go select lasso, and select this one specifically. And let me see if, nope, okay. So I gotta turn that as a separate polygroup first. So I'm gonna go polygroups, auto groups, and now I go in here, auto groups, there you go. Can you give me different colors? There you go. Blue and slightly or purple-ish blue, 2 blues, sure. So from here, now I'm gonna select this one. I'm gonna separate it because I don't want it to be together with a base. And right now, because I built it as a duplicate of the other one, it will be together. I don't want it to be together. So from here, I'm gonna go select that, right? I'm gonna select Control Shift. I did the lasso, right? And I actually have it here, split hidden. You can customize the UI on ZBrush as much as you want. I don't tend to customize it too much, other than adding buttons at the top, because I work a lot in the top. So I've seen artists doing the bottom, some at the top. I prefer on the top. So here, split hidden, it's going to be where that is. I believe also it's going to be under geometry modify topology. So you can also do that, but I have a couple here, not the most that I use, to be honest. So I split it. Did I split it? No, I did not. Okay, so split hidden. I hid one with Control Shift, and then I split hidden whatever I hid. So now I have 2 different shapes, right? This one and this one. And now Shift F, and I can always go and now adjust without merging things, because I don't need to merge this at the moment. It doesn't need to be merged. But from here, really quickly, I don't want to forget her eyebrows, right? I feel like it looks a little bit off if I definitely forget the eyebrows. So I'm gonna really quickly do them. I'm gonna do the monster ones, which is more of, I like the style how Paola did it here, which is just a slightly straight line. Love that though. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do Control, or mask lasso, mask whatever shape you want. And I am gonna go at the top, extract, and I'm gonna just hit accept. But before I do, I'm gonna go to the back really quickly. It's probably gonna be selected. That's part of how the tool is. So I'm gonna Control Alt, unselect that, and then keep this here. I actually like those. I Control Alt, click on your model, will also make them a little bit harder. Hardened edge, I would say, instead of softer. Softer is just Alt and clicking. So I'm just gonna go and extract that and accept. I don't have a specific thickness. Sometimes I just do that. I just like select the thickness and adjust it if I need it. So I'm just gonna do a little bit more of a thinner-ish, not super thin, but not super thick either. Still deciding that. BGD. And then I'm gonna flatten it, and it needs a little bit more resolution before I do that, because I feel if I do it now, it will just disappear. But from here, I'm gonna go Dynamesh, and I'm gonna go a little bit more of the resolution there, and hopefully that works on that one. Let me see. Sometimes when you turn on Dynamesh and it's not doing anything, you have to tell it, hey, it's this one. So I take the move tool, I move something, and I re-Dynamesh, and it does it, and I'm like, cool, okay, so you just needed guidance, which is fine. So there, and then there you go. That's a little bit better. Sure. I don't want them to be round though, so I'm probably gonna flatten them, and there's many ways you can flatten them, but for the sake of time, I'm just gonna just flatten that like this. I don't want it to go too thin. So if it goes too thin, BIN, inflate that again, and then BTD. Oh, sorry, BTD. And that goes, there you go. Now we have a surface at least to flatten, right? So there you go. I will leave that there for now. I actually like those. Maybe I'll decide to change them later. But again, I will try it. I will try either or and see which one works for me. So from here, now we're starting to see a bit more, right? Again, things take time. So take your time if you need to when you're creating these sculpts. There you go. That's better. So from here, I'm going to go again, and I'm going to append sphere. And I'm going to start doing the little wisps on the side. I feel like I love that. I love that little wisps. So you can do it a couple ways. You can do the same thing I did with this and just push it. You can also build it with curves, whichever is your choice there. I'm just going to do it with how I did that piece, where I'm like, okay, I actually like it like that. So I'm going to just have it close to where I want it, right? So it's going to be one here, approximately one there, and one here somewhere. And then I'm going to have like some curves going on in here and things like that. I'm definitely going to do this one here on the side as a curve. I think that's going to be a bit easier. But from there, I'm going to go and BSH. And then we can do, I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to do it straight for now. And then later on, we can just go in here and, oops, okay, saving. Thank you, ZBrush. I appreciate you. And then we can always go in here and shape it, or even do damn standard and start shaping it like that. I do that as well. So I'm like, okay, I don't need that piece. I don't need that piece, and things like that. So I don't need this piece, and I don't need this piece. And I am going to quick save again, because, you know, trauma definitely reminds me to save because I'm like, oh, I don't want that to. I don't want to cry again in a corner because I didn't save for 8 hours. And this is just me telling you my experience because it happens, okay? So now I'm going to Dynamesh that, because if you notice it's breaking the geometry a bit, yeah, that means I need to Dynamesh a bit more to get that geometry back. And that is working. I'm hitting Shift F to see my wireframe. Cool, now I have Dynamesh. And then I can start doing the swirls. And you see how I'm just going for the overall silhouette. I'm not even focused, is this flat, if this is round? No, I'm just going for the overall silhouette and seeing if that works for me. So BPI, and I'm gonna just do that. Maybe BSH, because I feel like it's a little bit short. Yeah, and I can push it like that somewhere along that line. It's fine if it's like this, right? Because eventually it's gonna end up a little bit flatter, and you can just do a couple things. You can cut it, you can flatten it like I did with Train Dynamic, and go over that surface. I love Train Dynamic. It's one of my favorite brushes. So if one of your questions was which brushes, Train Dynamic, love it. And you see how you get those nice edges really quickly. And on the inside, sometimes I just like go a little bit wild, and I just like go like this really quickly, because I'm mostly not gonna see that, to be honest. Soften that a bit so it's not crunchy. And then that is working a bit better, and then I'm gonna start moving it if I need it to. So that's how I would do that, right? Sure, they could be a little bit more wide, to be honest, so I can widen it, or I can just move things around if I need it to. because I need more space later on to do the little wiggles on the inside, but I'm still deciding if I want to paint that or if I want to paint and actually have it on the surface. But either way will read well, so it's your choice as well on that. But from here, I feel like this one kind of comes out a bit more. I'm gonna go in here, and we have one, right? We have one block out of that one, and then I'm just gonna duplicate that, the same one, and then change it slightly a bit, and that's gonna be the easiest, fastest way to get that. So from here, I'm gonna change it a bit, right? So I'm gonna take damn standard, and I'm gonna go over that, over that, over that, and I'm gonna go over a couple things. And this side here, I'm also gonna go over this a bit more because I don't like how crunchy is getting there, but it will also depend on how much thickness I want in this. So I don't want any thickness in this. I'm just gonna get rid of all the entire thing. Have a nice edge there, maybe pinch it a bit. Ooh, yep, that works. Cool. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other one. So I'm gonna do this, pinch it from this side. Again, slight pinching, not intense, because if not, it's gonna break probably the mesh. So slight pinching, and same on this one, slight pinching. And we have a thinner, slightly more or better piece. This one actually, I think I need to kind of like angle it. Feels a little off there, but I can always go in here, bring it back down, there you go, and shape it again. I feel like this one definitely goes a bit more swirly, so I'm just gonna move things around along the edge a bit more, BDS, and there you go, that's better. That curve is looking a little weird, but that's how I would start the shaping on those, and then I will, to be honest, do only one side and then mirror it to the other. So I would do one good side, yes, 1000%, and then I would just mirror it to the other side. So from here, I'm gonna pinch that, go into the same thing on the other side, have a little bit more of a swirl. I like those swirls, and then pinch that, BPI, pinch that, there you go, and then move it along again, BMV, because I don't like how flat that goes in there, so I might need to push that down a bit more, and there you go. And I feel like these kind of just have more extreme curves, so definitely take your time with those as well if you're following along. So I'm gonna go in that, and I'm gonna leave it there for now. Now I'm gonna do, I am going to mirror it, but I'm eventually gonna go back to those and kind of fix those a bit more because I feel like they're more swirly, so I can push these curves way more, definitely. But I don't want them to be perfectly curved as well, so you know, it's a fight. It's a fight with it. There you go, that's better. And then can you curve? There you go, curve, better, cool. So from here, I'm gonna go back to the face really quickly, and I'm gonna make the nostrils a bit because I feel like that's missing. And how I do my nostrils very quickly, that's it. That's it. Very quickly, and you see how I went down, 3/4 down, have symmetry on, just do click, slightly drag. I think of a bean shape, right? Anatomy wise, that's how I think about it. Sometimes it's not a perfectly shaped, sometimes it's a triangle, right? Like a slightly triangle. Depends on the style that I'm going for. But then of course you can barely see it. Maybe I'm gonna go a little bit more on the resolution so you can see it a bit better. And that's what I do. So that's gonna give you a nice, even doing that, it's super nice transition on that. I'm gonna refresh those lips because I put the resolution a bit higher, so it gives me more ability to do that. I don't like that one there. Let me separate that more. Sometimes I do go in slightly deeper on my mouth so it doesn't look like it's glued together, right? It actually looks like there's two separate entities there. And then I go back again and I mask one, smooth the other one, kind of push it in a bit more. So it still feels like there's two entities, but they're clashing or they're close to each other, right? Like there's weight if that makes sense. And then from here, do the same thing here, and that's reading so much better. That triangle there, that's interesting. Cool. But then from there, of course, I do go a little bit more into my nose, right? I go in there and I separate some areas, but not right now. It's looking like a really cutesy nose, so I don't think I want a lot of structure to it, more than just it looking cutesy and nice and round, right? I'm thinking round shapes, round. So that's reading well from each side. Maybe some adjustments here and there, but I don't want it to, there you go, maybe a little bit there. And then this one is going to be a little bit more transition here, and that's gonna go smooth in there. And then that is one. Okay, cool. I can continue with everything on the eye, of course, but I want to make sure that I have the overall structure reading, which I think it is definitely reading. And to get that cutesy vibe, I always go into the corner of my mouth, and I do this a little bit higher Dynamesh, to be honest. And I soften it, right? And I go in and I do a dot, and then from that dot I go in, and I feel like that helps a lot on this weird smoothing issue that I see a lot happening. Just having a nice dot, and sometimes I go up or down depending. I don't go too deep though, okay? So it's just like a transition from here to here. And then I smooth the bottom a bit more. Sometimes I move it a bit, but it helps with that weird shadow or smoothing in this specific corner right here. And then I take some off and kind of just move around and things like that. It's definitely a process, but I enjoy it. I hope you do as well. But from here, again, we have one side, we have the other. There's so many other things that I want to add to it, right? I want to make sure this is reading well. So I'm going to smooth this out a bit more. And I feel like it could be wider. It could definitely be wider and slightly flatter here. And then go in a bit more. In a bit more, in a bit more. And I'm just doing this with a huge move tool. And from the side, it could be a little bit thinner. Yes, definitely. So I'm gonna go damn standard and do that. But for now, I'm gonna start doing the side and the back, right? So because I'm still doing the overall block out, and I'm not doing this type of hair on this one, maybe I'll try it out off camera, to be honest, and see how it looks. So maybe you'll see it there on the video, me trying both ways and see which one works for me. I'll try it out for you, but I just want to see how it looks if eventually I do that. But now we're getting that vibe of cutesy, of Rosalina's coming out, of course. You know, the eyebrows could be adjusted. The eyelashes are missing at the moment, but I'm gonna keep them simple. I'm just gonna do them sculpted. I'm not gonna go any type of hair cards on this. I just feel like the style will be sculpted overall. But now I'm gonna actually give it a little bit more neck length. I feel like now I don't have enough neck, and I'm just gonna push this down, and I can divide this, to be honest. Eventually I will have the neck with the face, so I will probably adjust this a bit more where it's a little bit more forward. I don't tend to have this connection at all at any point. Sometimes I just have my head floating like this and my neck. That's how I have it. It's easier for me. If at any point I need to change anything or merge it, I can always merge it with the neck. That's fine. Or make the transition between those two as well. But because the hair is going to be there, I don't really need to have those together, to be honest. I don't really need to. So I'm going to just, if we were to see those, and to be honest, I am going to be implementing these details there, like the stitching. So I can just leave it as it is, maybe add some stitching there and hide it, hopefully. So that's my thinking behind that. But here, I'm going to go then smooth out the neck a bit more. Have it slightly thinner. I feel like they have very thin, slightly thinner necks. And then we're gonna implement that. Sure, I'm gonna go and work on my shoulders. Where are my shoulders? Where's my shoulder pads? I want to increase the amount of the shoulder pads. I feel like there's one here, Where is it? Let me see. This one, love the shoulder pads. So I'm like, maybe I'll also implement that a little bit more intensely because I like that. I feel like I barely see anybody with shoulder pads anymore. And I'm a 90s kid, so I feel like that used to be a thing. But I feel like for style, like, love those. So I might implement those. So I'm going to leave them there a little bit pointier just to make sure I don't forget, hey, Valerie, make sure you put those in there later. And then I'm going to go a little bit. That was a little bit intense. There you go. That is a little bit intense. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit there. That's why. Okay, cool. And just trim and shape this really quickly. Again, really quickly, really quickly, really quickly. To just have something there for me to work on eventually. And I'm going to have cylinders for my upper shoulder area, right? That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to cut it at the bottom. And then I'm going to have this nice thicker piece here. So I'm going to probably also make sure that I have that blocked out, right? For the remainder of the stream. But I'm going to make sure that this is blocked out. Very simple, again, not too overly complicated. It doesn't have to be attached at this point. Not everything has to be attached, okay? So if you are doubting yourself, does everything need to be merged? Not necessarily. It will depend on whatever you're creating. Okay, not everything has to be attached. Sometimes you can fake it. You can fake the attachment, or maybe sometimes you do need to, and that's fine. Just not everything at all times has to be attached. Myself, I do things as separate as I can. It's gonna make my life easier when I need to change that specific shape if at any point. So from there, modify topology, mirror and weld, and I'll leave it there where I have my two cylinders there. I will eventually cut it here. I don't tend to cut on stream. You might have seen that. It's just sometimes cutting tends to crash ZBrush. So hey, little tip there. If you cut things and you don't save before you cut, it might crash. Okay, so that's why I don't cut a lot of things in here. I just flatten them. Because again, cutting is still a little bit crashy, at least for me. I don't know if it happens to you. But if you cut a lot in ZBrush and you are cutting and it's crashing, yeah, it happens. But you know, again, I love ZBrush. Nothing is perfect. So from here, I'm just gonna establish some areas, and I'm gonna build back, which is gonna be super quickly. One shape. I can build it in separate 4 pieces, or I can just do one shape. Let's do one shape. Let's try that. So from here, I'm gonna go and I'm going to, actually I'm gonna take the same one. I always like to have a base hair. So the base of it is gonna be this one. And I'm going to just go into this one, duplicate it, and even though if it's overlapping, it's fine. It's just me having separate pieces. That's the point of this. So I'm just gonna put in there, and then now we have a back getting there, right? Again, we can just take another shape and implement it to that, or we can try and see what Snakehook does. So I'm gonna go into that base, have my symmetry on, and I am going to push this down. That's how my brain is seeing it. I'm going to push this because it's curved, right? And then from the middle back, I wouldn't do it from the front because you have a lot of thickness here. So if you do it from the front, you're going to have this weird gap in the middle. So just be aware of that. But you can also just have this a little bit more consistent in thickness. But I will do it from probably this point here, and I am going to push, and I'm going to do it like nonchalant. Just let me see how this looks. Okay, cool. It's a start. Okay, cool. It's another start. That's fine. This could also be done with curves again, but for me, I actually like the shape just like that. Don't like the bottom one, so I'm going to go back to the bottom one. Don't like that one. Let me do that again, but I'm gonna mask the top. I feel like the bottom one was gonna take me a bit more time to adjust if I didn't mask. because you had that weird gap in between, not this nice triangular transition. Which again, you can always go back and fix, but this one, there you go. It's okay if it's breaking, if it's happening like this, it's okay. It just means I haven't Dynamesh yet, but it's okay. At this point, I don't need to necessarily Dynamesh. I just want to see if the shape is working for yourself or for me. So from here, I'm going to jump back into this because it's bothering me that it's not pointy enough. So I'm going to go in here and make it a little bit more pointier. And then adjust. And it's kind of covering half of her face. So if at any point you wanted to create half of her face only, you can. But to be honest, practice everything entirely as many times as you can. Don't try to avoid things, okay? Because avoiding things, you don't learn the process. You don't learn how to do things. When my students ask me what is the first thing like I should do in ZBrush, is just, of course, do something, but try anatomy, try something that you like. Just try it, okay? Try it entirely and see where are the places that you are slow at, where are the places that you don't understand. And that way you're like, okay, cool, I don't understand this. Let me ask my instructor. And I'm super happy to always talk about anything. So just try things out. If it doesn't work, ask. I love when students ask my pipeline, hey, what's your pipeline? I will tell you because it's totally different. It's totally, everyone has their own pipeline. So ask as many pipelines as you can to any of the other artists. And now I could actually Dynamesh, but I'm going to see how it does. Because I don't like a lot of this kind of, these two are gonna definitely merge. So if they merge with this low resolution of Dynamesh, I'm gonna have to increase the resolution, and I might not want to do that at the moment. But I feel like these kind of go like these in the back, and same with this, right? And then this one would probably be like maybe like that. I don't know. I gotta think about this back here first. If I want to do straight down or if I want to do in chunks and then have another chunk here, I will think about that later on. Not an issue for now. So I'm just gonna have it as like that for now. And then from the front is reading well though. It's reading well. It could be curvier. Sure, of course. These could be definitely curvier, pointier, and there you go. Maybe a little bit more thicker at the bottom, maybe thinner in the top. But this is where I'm going to Dynamesh. Quick save, Dynamesh. This is definitely not on, so let me see. Geometry, Dynamesh, Dynamesh. There you go. Too low. So I'm gonna go a little bit higher. Dynamesh again. Sure, it's a little bit attachy here, but it's not too bad. Let me go a little bit more up. A little bit more up. There you go. That's good. It keeps it. It's a little bit too dense, but I can work with it. I can still smooth, which is good. And then here, this is going to either be a transition, right? I'm going to have another one on the top, or to be honest, I am just going to take this one and I'm going to merge these two, and this is going to be the entire back of it. And I can always go in here and move things around, make it thicker, make sure it's working, and things like that. So it's not just one thing. It might be a little bit too high resolution, to be honest, but I don't want them to get attached. So that's the point of that. And of course, after you start doing these, check how the lighting is working. You see how you have a lot of highlight here, but then this is just gray? That's when I go back into that sculpt and I'm like, okay, let me reiterate where the light's hitting, where my contrast and my light is working. Is it smoother transitions? That's why I utilize a lot of this blend, because it helps me identify those weird gray spots on the surface, like what's happening there. Does it need to be rounder? And I would definitely do this rounder all the way from here to the top, to the tip. So all these are going to be rounder. So from here, rounder here as well. This might be a little bit too thick, but the problem here is that I haven't thought about the back yet. That's why. But that's going to be an issue for future Valerie. What do I want to do with that one? And I will definitely have this kind of just implement that. That looks a little bit off there, but it could also be that I need another layer, right? Maybe I do a layer that's going out and that's gonna be really good for the silhouette. So I can also do that, right? I can have wisps on the side and one wisp or two or three on the back. So that could also be the issue there. But from here, I'm gonna go back to the face really quick and I wanna see how that is working there. I just noticed that my cheekbone might need to be a little bit rounder. So I was like, let me go back to that. But here, now I'm gonna go in here and I'm going to duplicate this so we have something a little bit more seen, right? So we're like, okay, what are we doing? Let me identify this. Let me see how this is looking. Cool, it's getting there, right? It's getting there. Hopefully you guys see what I'm seeing. It's getting there. There you go. Maybe that needs to be a little bit more pronounced. Maybe, but again, I don't want to go too much because this is supposed to be softer. Softer. There you go. Cool. There you go. And then a little bit more sharpness in here. And eventually I'm gonna do the lashes and I'm gonna do them as a separate piece, right? So I'm gonna go and just have something there for now and then adjust it like I did with the eyebrow. Just have something there, just something. So from here, I'm gonna go and do that. Of course, check on the back as always. Control-Alt, get rid of that. And maybe a little bit sharper here. And then from there, I'm gonna go to the top, Subtool, and I'm gonna do Extract. This one I do adjust the thickness. I feel like it's a little bit too thick, but you know what? If you don't, it's okay, because you can just accept, smooth by holding Shift, right? Smooth it out. And then from here, you're gonna go and Control, let go of the mask, take Damn Standard, and then go in, still following that. So I feel like this, for me, it's a better transition. Like you still have certain areas that are sharp, but smooth at the same time with the shape. So that's why I'm like, it's okay if it's thicker, right? You can always adjust the thickness yourself. It's okay. And then from here, definitely this is a little bit too thick. So I'm gonna either flatten it, following that shape, and having an edge there so it looks nice on the lighting. And then going back again, BTD, and doing that, and adjusting the shape however you want to. Of course, this might go a little bit thinner because it could be too thin. Doo-doo-doo. And then this BMV, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna, it tends to be flat there, so what I do is I go to the side view, right? Sometimes I don't have this there, but I would probably go in here and check the thickness on it, flatten it if needed to. And this is on the inside, okay? You don't necessarily have to work with insides or with thickness. You can always have it flat if that's what you like. That's cool. I just know that it's easier for me to just have the thickness there and adjust it if I needed to. So from here, again, I'm gonna go in a bit more to get that nice transition there. This might be too thin now. Inflate, inflate, smooth. And we at least have a start of an eyelash, right? We have a start of an eyelash. And I want her to have very stylized eyelashes on this one, and then I'm gonna go to the bottom and actually make them one by one. And that's just gonna be cones. I use cones. So I go and append and I do one of the cone 3Ds or also a cube, whichever, and I just have them just to be super bold eyelashes. So that's what I'm going for this one at this point. So that's what I'm gonna do there, moving forward on that one. But here, I'm just gonna adjust the nose a bit more because I feel like they're a little bit too tiny, which is fine. Again, it depends on your style. And then smooth it out. And then make sure that this here at the bottom, you have a crease there, because if you don't have a crease there, it's gonna look like it's melted into the face. But yes, there you go. Now we're starting to look, right? We're starting to see something. Yay, that's good. That's good. Okay, so I did create some things that I wanted to add to this. I tend to do it at the end, but I'm like, you know what? Let me see how it's gonna look with everything. So I'm gonna save before I do that, right? I'm gonna save as always. And I am going to go to import. Actually, let me do a duplicate here. I'm gonna do a duplicate of this one because sometimes you bring things and import things, it will switch them for whatever you have. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna go import, and I did a crown, quick crown, nothing too wild. I want to go a little bit more in depth with the Rosalina's crown because it's definitely different from Peaches and everything, right? But I'm gonna go with the first one. Let's see what I did. So I'm gonna go back down here on the subtool palette, make sure I have it clicked, and I'm going to, there you go. So that way we start seeing, some things popping up, right? Okay, it's getting there. And it's only taken, what, almost 2 hours? So it's not too bad, I hope. But from here, that fits there, and I want to just have it there. Why? Because one, I'm going to build the hair, right? And I want to make sure the hair is fitting with that. From the side, it's still looking a little bit like I need to adjust it. I'm not liking it from the side on the hair, to be honest, but I can always go and move things around. From the back. Oh, cool. Maybe I'll do, I know what it is, actually. I know what it is. I want that to be curved. That's what it is. So I'm expecting that to be curved, and when I put the bottom curved pieces of hair, I think that's gonna work well. I think that's gonna work really well. Make sure this is a little bit thicker from the side, and then from the front. From the 3/4, the face is reading well, which is good, right? The face is reading really nicely there. We have the cheekbones, we have your little fatty areas on your cheek and bottom of the cheek and around the mouth, which is good. So that's really, really nice. And then we're probably gonna cover this ear, but I think the ears might be a little bit too big now. But I'm gonna make them slightly smaller. Separate them, and then just do something quickly for them to have, hey, this is an ear, right? So just a little bit of, hey, super simple. This is going to be an ear eventually. But the reason that I'm doing this right now is because I also did earrings. I'm like, cool, let me do earrings. And because my friend, she was like, I'm gonna do the star earrings, and then she did one that was lighting. I was like, I love them both. Paola, I love that. So I did both. So what I did is I did one side of lighting, one side of star, and I think it's gonna look super cute. So from here, and it's gonna match your style, right? That's the point. So from here, I'm gonna soften the hair a bit more. It's just softer. And I'm gonna make this way chunkier later on. I feel like it needs to be chunkier. But the hair is gonna take a little bit extra time there. But do not forget that I'm missing some swirls here, right? I am definitely missing some swirls there. So I'm gonna go, and that's gonna be good for the transition of the scalp and the ear area, right? And the face. So quick save again. My paranoia, always quick save. I think that the front bang is gonna be bigger as well, because I feel like her head is really, really bigger on this one. But to be honest, what I like to do is I build everything, and then, like I did here before, remember that we did a duplicate? Let's check that out. So if we go back to that duplicate, and let me see if I can just turn this off and turn that one on. And I'm actually gonna take a screenshot so we can see the difference. So we can see where, hey, we went back from, and I do this all the time. I'm like, I was here and now I'm here. Maybe not with that there. Let me see. There you go. Screenshot. So you see how we were in one place, right? Barely any details. Of course, we didn't have the eyes at that point or anything. And then we started pushing the shapes a bit more. So I do this all the time. The nose came out a bit longer, smaller. The eyes are a little bit bigger. So I do this all the time. Like, did I like that? Yeah, you know what? I actually transition. And the light is reading well on the chin. It's reading well on the nose. Here, look at it before. Here we had a super thin line, right? So that's the evolution of blocking out. If you do this, where you take an image or a screenshot of your before, after, intermediate, whatever point in time you're doing, it's gonna be super helpful for you to see the changes that you're doing. Because sometimes we're just doing things and we don't see the changes. But hopefully, if you take something from today, screenshot your progress from the block out to 20 minutes, to 40, to 60, and see the changes that you're doing. So you're practicing, you're training your eye, and that's really, really nice. But from there, before we head out, right, because I believe it's about that time, the last thing I want to do is I want to add the earrings, right? I want to add the earrings. I want to start doing the shoulder pads that I want to do, and yeah. Is there any questions so far? Of course, do let me know. I'm still here, so you can definitely ask questions. The hair is gonna bother me a little bit, but and then from here, oh, that's the old one. How did I know? Because the eyes are looking a little bit off, right? I'm like, oh, why does it look a little bit off there? If I go and turn this off, and if actually I didn't manage to capture the side either, you're gonna notice there's definitely a difference. I'm gonna turn this one off. Turn this one on, and you're gonna see it mostly on the side. And you might have think, hey Valerie, you focus too much on the side. To be honest, I focus in the front and the side. But I always do know that if I don't focus a little bit more on the side, it's not gonna look great, right? Things always look great from the front, because we most of the time focus in the front view. Try to go 3/4, try to go side. That's gonna make your model look so much better. So I think I did one, but let me see. But here, look at the side. Look at the changes we made, right? Look at this one, which some areas were flat, the eyes were bulging out too much, versus now we have a nice structure and flow from the side. So it's really, really nice. This one looked a little bit flat. And I do like that I kind of implemented that little pout there, which is on purpose, okay? It's definitely on purpose. Instead of having a little bit more of a flat side view for those lips. But yeah, changes. This is really good. And I think I still want to change the nose bridge, but sometimes I'm like, let's calm down, Valerie. It's okay. It's looking good. It's looking good. It's looking good for now. So saying the rings, same thing. I'm going to go back to the bottom. I'm going to do a duplicate on this one. And I am going to actually turn the face on, because if I don't, it's gonna be not there. There you go. And then now I'm gonna go back down at the bottom, make sure that I have that selected, and I'm gonna go import. And this is just because I'm importing OBJs. Again, if you import OBJs, there's different ways to do it. But this way that I'm doing it, it's going to replace whatever shape I have on the subtool. And that's why I'm doing it this way. Why? Because this is how I like it, but there's many, many ways you can do it, okay? I always say there's many ways to do things. I'm just showing you my way. So from here, I'm gonna go earrings, and there's two there, right? I created them really quickly in my create polygon tool, shape it, clean it up, of course, did a couple bevels, call it a day. That's what I did with these. I probably eventually will have the little connection to the ear, because I don't have it at the moment, but I just wanted to see if it looked good. So I'm gonna have these two, and I'm gonna make sure that symmetry is off, because if not, it's gonna break that. And then from here, these are the rings, and we have one a star, and then we have one that's a little lightning, super cute. From here, I am going to, come on, ZBrush. There you go. I accidentally hit this guy over here, that's why. I'm gonna go and mask this one, and I'm gonna move the other one to the spot that I want it. So I'm gonna go, I'm still deciding if I want to do lighting on one side on the rest one. I don't know which side yet, right? But it's okay. Let me try it out. I can always flip them as well. So I'm gonna go in here. This is the reason I'm having some kind of ear there, because I want to make sure that I can put my earring there. Ooh, that looks good. Maybe a little bit lower. Sure, I like it there. And then we get this one, it's mask. I'm gonna control click on the canvas and invert that mask. And then bring this back one here. And all these two, I just did it on one file, to be honest. I didn't do anything, I didn't do them separate. I just had it in one file and brought him in like that. So from here, go in there, go down, scale down. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing that. I was definitely doing that with my mouse. It's easier for me with the tablet. So here, slightly slanted, not too, right? I'm not doing this to have it front only. It's gonna be slightly diagonal, so you can see it when you go around the shape a bit more. So if you do it flat, look at how flat that is. And you see a line from the side. But if you slightly do that, it's gonna look so much better. It's gonna look good from the front, 3/4, and side. So now I'm gonna probably place it close to that ear there. But again, I will probably have like a connection or something. I feel like it feels off just floating there, but it could be part of the style. Who knows? So from here, that is, I think that's looking cool. It's looking like a Rosalina, right? It's definitely a style. These, I feel like I still want to fix these from the back, but now that they're mirrored, I can always fix both at the same time. And I know what's missing. I know why I was like, why does it feel like it's floating? Oh, because I forgot the little hairs on the sides of the ears. Like these over here. Like these right here. This one's, yeah, the curlies. Let me see. We can do a curve. You know what? Let's do a curve. If you're new to curves, let's do the curve. So I'm gonna do a curve before we head out, right? So let's go over here. And I'm gonna do B. Anything curved straps are great. Of course, we don't need that flatness at the moment. So I'm gonna go with curve 2. So I'm gonna click that. And if you're using subdivision levels, it's not gonna let you work with curves, so just be aware. Some things you cannot utilize with subdivision levels, but since we're using Dynamesh, one more thing why I love Dynamesh, before I'm gonna do a little bit more inflate on that. I feel like they're a little bit too thin, but it's okay. So here, from there, and I'm gonna select the face itself, right? I'm gonna select the face, and I'm going to just do a curve down. I could do it with a helix. Sure, I've tried that before, but these are not, for me, these are not curled. These are just wavy, right? So if it's wavy, it's gonna be easier just to have one curve down and wave it myself, instead of having a curl with a helix. So from here, I am just gonna click and drag my curve. If it's too thick, you can adjust the size here by holding spacebar and getting that size a bit smaller, and then click again and it will adjust the size. I would say that's actually not too bad. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. So to get rid of the curve, you're gonna now select anywhere in your model, and then that gets rid of that curve. So now you can adjust to how you like. I'm gonna probably do a little bit of BIN, which is inflate. I'm gonna do inflate out and in because I want to create those curves a bit more, and then this here tapers, right? And then I'm gonna take the move tool. I'm gonna make sure this is placed wherever I want it to start. It could definitely be bigger, or move it up a bit. Yeah, move it up a bit because they're not super long. And then from there, now I'm gonna take the move tool again, and I'm gonna go, actually no, not move tool. I'm gonna do the snake hook. I liked how this turned out here. So I'm gonna do curve from the side, and then curve and curve from the front. And you see how I'm doing it in different directions. I'm not doing it in the same direction. I just find that that helps a lot with the movement overall in the surface. And I can increase that by just moving it around again. Actually, this one goes in, this one goes out, and then this one goes in. There you go. And again, it doesn't have to be perfectly matching this shape at the moment. It's just to have something there. Have something there. And then that, at least we have it there, right? I didn't forget it. I didn't forget it. So from here, again, slightly to the side, adjust the shape if needed. I feel like this is way more like that. Way more wavy. way more wavy. And same with this one, and with this one, and with this one. And you keep adjusting it, but that's the wavy part. Awesome. This one feels a little bit too sharp here before I move forward. There you go. Don't like that line there. But this right here that I'm doing, that you just saw me doing, this is more shape refinement, right? Overall, the point of it, or the goal of today, was just to have it block out, to just have everything reading as much as you can. And you know what? I think I'm gonna increase the size on this, and we can do it a couple ways. We can just try to make this bigger, maybe. Nah, I don't like that. Let's do a move. So I'm gonna just big move, and instead of me going back to adjusting her face, or her, her bust face, that's why I create the hair separate, because I can always go back and just adjust the hair shape, or the head shape, I guess, essentially, with the overall sculpt of the hair. So that's one of the points also that I like to do, because I'm like, actually this goes up a bit more. And then we're gonna get into a symmetry, we're gonna get into, shaping and shape refinement more a bit on this, of course, as I mentioned. And then these go a little bit more up. I just noticed that. But again, this is gonna start being shape refining. How is it looking? Is it reading well? Is it not reading well? Am I liking what is happening, right? So that, all that is gonna be the funnest after you have everything in your scene. And I would say everything's super important, right? Here, I'm gonna cut this here, because I want the shoulders, like I was mentioning before, I want that. So I think I'm gonna just have it as a separate piece, so that way I can integrate it into the shoulder a bit easier. But from here, I'm gonna cut this right here. I like that. And there's a couple ways, actually. Most of the time I have it with my neck, but today let's try it out in the body. So I'm gonna just cut this out here, and I might just, you know what? Yeah. I might just take these two and merge them, because I feel like there's a weird gap there, right? Yeah. You see it? I definitely see it. So from here, geometry. Actually, no, sorry. Subtool. Merge. And then I want to make sure that whatever I'm going to merge is at the bottom. The way I do it, I have things at the top, and I always merge down. You can also merge visible, merge similar. That's on you. I just like to merge down. Hit OK. And that way I can always go back into geometry. Geometry. Dynamesh, and then just Dynamesh that together, and now we won't have that weird gap there that sometimes bothers me too much. And I'm like, oh, I need to fix that. But again, this is just a block out, so it's okay to have it. It's okay. So from here, I'm gonna have this here, and then this here, and again, I'm marking my areas, right? This is gonna be like that, and then this is gonna be like that-ish. Sure. I'm gonna make this a nice transition, like almost PS1 Lara Croft. If you know, you know. So I would say that's gonna be the transition for that one before we hit out. There you go. And then I'm gonna do transition there and transition there, and I'm just building it up. This doesn't have to be, again, perfect. Just here, and then this is definitely curvier. It's very curvy there, so I'm gonna have to push those a bit more. Again, this is a part where I would cut. I would definitely take a cut tool and cut it here, but I'm not gonna do that on the stream. Again, because just in case it decides to just close the program. And to be honest, it closes it because we're working with Dynamesh. It's a lot of poly count, right? Okay, there's a lot of things happening here, so it's 596 overall, right? And I've definitely sculpted more than that. I've sculpted, I think, 50 million-ish and more. So it's definitely a thing. I'm gonna transition this a bit better, That feels a little bit off there. But yeah. I always press V. If you press V by accident, it just turns your model into whatever color. It's gonna be black over here in the color section. Just press V again. If not, just go white and it will go back into the original color. I do that all the time because BCB is very close to the V, so if that happens, don't panic, it's okay. And then I'm gonna go here. Separate the arms a bit more. Have this transition. I'm gonna do it with a there you go. With a trim dynamic, but I'm gonna do it adding instead of taking. So I'm gonna press Alt and add, so it creates that nice silhouette shape or sharp transition. And I'm gonna soften everything and see how the lighting is looking. It's looking round, a little bit off here, but we can just And to be honest, how the light looks, it's gonna be, think about it this way. It's gonna be, how smooth is it? Is it too sharp? Because you're definitely gonna see if this is too sharp, the light is gonna you're gonna see it. So the more you practice and you sculpt and sometimes this might be weird, but I like toys and I like seeing toys and I'm like, how is this built? So I'm just like there like, ooh, you know, I feel the surface just because I want to see if I were to translate this to 3D. How would I go about it sculpting it? So try that out as well. I know it's totally different, but I'm like, okay, let me see how this, actually feel it with your hands. How is it built? Feel it. It also helps me as well. And that helps with the lighting and the smoothness and the surface overall. Yes. So super simple. Leave it there for now, again. And then I'm just gonna start doing the shoulder pads, which I am going to do these ones because I love them. But I'm gonna do shoulder pads only, leave this flat, and then this is going to be the wraps. And then the curve tool that I mentioned before, the curve strap, that's the one that I'm going to be utilizing for the wraps, by the way, in case you have any questions there. And then from here, from the back, definitely flatten all that. Have a nice shape for it in the back, of course, right? And I'm going to just flatten that, flatten that in the front, and start getting that nice curvature. Again, this is really quickly done, quickly getting something. The shoulders might be a little bit too intense, so I'm gonna bring those down. They tend to be round, but it doesn't really matter because I'm gonna put shoulder pads in them. So, but again, practice your anatomy, practice everything. Even if I built this and I'm gonna hide it, I still go over the process of practicing it. That's the point, that's the key point. Don't skip it. So now I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna go append and we're gonna do some pointy shoulder pads, and the shape that I see there is a cube. I see a cube. So let's go. I can also do the terrain. We have a terrain here. Sure. But I'm gonna do the cube. I feel like the cube is gonna work for this. And then from here, block this out really quickly. You see, I start making noises when I get too excited and concentrated. So I'm gonna go here, and there you go. Maybe, and it's okay if we have the entire thing, right? We're gonna cut it off, or get it off there. I'm not gonna cut it for this one, but it's probably gonna be like somewhere along that way. And then have some here, and then make sure that it covers the entire thing. These two here, the way that I'm seeing it in my brain, they kind of just meet in this corner. But again, we don't have to worry about that at the moment. I just want to get the shape there. I just want to get something. And then this actually goes up way more. Way more. Hopefully you guys are all seeing the shape that I'm seeing. But yeah, these match here. And then this definitely goes all the way down. And I'm starting to see something. And then this one could probably go a little bit up. Sure. But I want to keep this straight because that's what's going to give me those shoulder pad feel look. And then from here, there you go. Oops, don't smooth it if you don't want to lose that. Definitely don't do that. I will get them a little bit smoother here because I might need to sculpt this a bit better, but at least for the block out, I'm gonna leave it non-smooth. So I set my boundaries. This is my top flat, this is my other plane, and this is my other plane. That's why I'm leaving it like that. And then this kind of goes down. I don't know where this attaches, to be honest. When things like that happen that you don't know where things go, I would say if you draw, go into Photoshop, draw the shape, how you would see it from the top, how you would see it from the back, how you would see it from 3/4. Yourself draw it and see if that helps you. I find that that helps me. This shape, how I see it right now, it's attached, it's like what I'm wearing right now, where it's like a little vest kind of almost thing going all the way around. So that's how I would build it. But again, it's not necessary to build it all the way because it's probably going to be hidden or attached to somewhere here and then attached to the original base, at least for this specific style. So I'm gonna first of all fix this, and there you go. So yeah, that's better. So yeah, that is mostly going to be, ooh, from the side. Definitely we need to fix this. Ooh-hoo. But you start seeing how we're having something there, right? We're getting somewhere. Yes, sounds good. Okay. So from here, smooth everything out. Have a nice block out at least of that. Have a nice block out of this. Have my shoulder pad on one side. I will attach it to something, I promise. I'm gonna go geometry. Modify topology, mirror and weld. So we start getting those. I still feel like they're too close. Again, it's okay. Go back in here. Symmetry on. That way you get these there a bit more, maybe a little bit more up. It's getting there, it's getting there. And then of course, I'm gonna go over just having something here for this. And extract, make sure you check the back. Yeah, sure, there. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go back into this side. There you go. And I'm gonna extract something quickly to have there to then attach the clothing. So I'm gonna have the bust or the area, the lower area, and something on top. Maybe too thick. Maybe 294. Yeah, sure, that works. Extract, accept. And then again, I don't need all this. So this is gonna be separated by something. And then this is gonna be forward. And again, this is just something that I would take a little bit more time with because I feel like there's a lot more detail on what I wanna do here. So that is something that I will definitely start or record for you all later while I finish this, because trust me, I'm not gonna leave this as is. I'm gonna continue it. The goal is get it black and white like I mentioned before, so it's gonna be a lot of texturing, utilizing materials. So I'm gonna definitely show you the post-processing and how I am going to go more of this style. But yes, now I'm gonna leave it as this because we are definitely about time. I know I go over a lot of information and try to do it really quickly. But if you have any questions, this is gonna be the time before we finish this stream for today. But hopefully we got into a spot where we are liking what we see, right? Hopefully we're liking what we see. I am happy with it. I feel like the face is reading really well, and that's gonna be the focus of this piece. First is gonna be the face, and then it's gonna be everything kind of integrating Frankenstein's bride. So I'm super happy with this. I am super excited to finish this for all of you. So before we start heading out, is there any questions? Let me know. And yeah, I'm gonna save this again for the 50th time. And I'm gonna go here. But definitely make sure that you're checking all the events happening at Full Sail, okay? I love Halloween at Full Sail, always have, always will, just because there's so many different events, online streams, right? We have campus events. There's one with pets. Like if you dress up your pets, definitely take pictures. That's so cute. I was thinking about doing that with my chicken, but I don't know, it's really difficult to, she's temperamental. So anyhow, if you have pets and you want to dress them up, participate in that. If you are on campus and you want to participate dressing up, I did that when I was a student and I got second place, so I was happy about that. But participate, get into the culture, enjoy your time here, okay? Because trust me, it passes by so quickly and it's just a great fun time to have. We are available at any point. If you need to talk to me, email me, Discord me, anything at any point, okay? Message me, get in touch with me if you want to talk to me. And I am excited to hopefully be your instructor moving forward or you know, in the future. What else? Yeah, I think that's mostly it. I appreciate the social team for always doing these for you all because I enjoy these. I definitely enjoy doing these. It just takes me out of my, I wouldn't say comfort zone, but it just pushes me to do something really quickly, really fast. And I enjoy that. And the themes are always super fun, right? And I know this year's themes is a lot of epic universe and it's a lot of just inspiration from grads that are also or are working on any of those epic universe plans and any of those overall, I would say, films, games, everything. There's so many grads working on that. So I also appreciate you all, you know, bringing that joy to us as well. If there's any other questions, let me know. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna save again because I'm not sure if I did, but there you go. If you wanna again check any of the past YouTube recordings of all the years that I've been doing these and hopefully many more, check the Full Sail University's YouTube channel. And again, if you go through all those and you have questions, let me know. I'm super happy to always help and talk about anything, especially ZBrush. I love ZBrush. But yeah, if there's no other questions, we might actually end it up here, right? I'm gonna drink some water because sometimes I talk too much. So everyone, have a nice day. Have a happy Halloween. Check out all those events on FSO, or sorry, on Full Sail Online. And yeah, enjoy those. And happy Halloween, everyone. Bye. Enjoy your time. I'm gonna say that.